So I tried to set up the lights in a way to not create a glare on my glasses, but I have discovered that it is a feat beyond my comprehension. So, we shall begin. So it's been a minute. I had kind of a shitty month, and I thought I was gonna have to move, so I packed all my shit up, and then it turned out I didn't have to move, so then I had to unpack my shit, and here we are. Hopefully my consistency can become a thing. I really enjoy making videos, and I'm excited to get back at it. So this, as I'm sure you can tell, is going to be an unhaul, because when I thought I was going to have to move, I thought I was going to have to move into a much smaller apartment, and I started going through my books and seeing what I really, really wanted to keep and trying to be a little more cutthroat. Now that I don't have to move, I could keep all these books, but I kind of realized, like, if I was willing to get rid of them at one point, then clearly I don't really need them. So here are the books and some other things that I'm no longer keeping. The first thing that I'm getting rid of is the first 4 books in the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. I absolutely loved these books when I was in high school, but I recently tried to reread the first one and I just wasn't that into it. That was a couple of years ago. I've also been debating rereading a lot of my favorites from childhood, but I just can't see myself really enjoying these anymore. And honestly, the series went so downhill. I'm still trying to finish it. I never did. After book 5, the series became a mess. These first 4 books were fun, but they're nothing that I really enjoy now. The next book is For Her Pleasure by Maya Banks. This was one of my first forays into smut. This is like a novella with a couple short stories. I think there's 2 or 3. And I tried to read this. I read the first novella and I think it was fine. I've mostly forgotten it though. And I think I've refined my taste in smut over the years now that that's like half of what I read, and I'm just not really into this sort of thing anymore. This is very dainty for my taste, I guess. There is a threesome and that's fun, but beyond that it's just not what I'm into. Lizzie's Story by Stephen King. I am not the biggest Stephen King fan. I have tried very, very hard to like Stephen King. I have read 7 or 8 of his books now, and I don't get the hype. I could do a whole rant video on that because I just don't get it. But I got this book for free because it was downstairs at my apartment building, so I picked it up because I was in my Stephen King phase of trying to get into his work, and this thing's huge. I'm not doing it to myself anymore. I'm just not. I have a couple more that I am gonna read because I actually paid money for them, but this one's gotta go. This didn't really hold my interest anyways. I know it has something to do with a little girl who goes missing or something, I don't know. And another mystical world. And I think this is one of King's favorites that he's written, but I'm just not doing it. The next book is Uglies by Scott Westerfield. This came out, I think, during the whole dystopian craze of my youth, and so I picked this up, but honestly, I just know that I'm not going to read it. I could read it and it would be fine, I'm sure, but I would never end up reading the rest of the series, so what's the point? I'm terrible about finishing series, and I'm just not that into dystopians anymore. The Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones. I have kind of a shitty review of this up, well, not a review, but I read this not that long ago, and I did not like it. This premise that they say is here about being the last final girl, yeah, that's not what this book is. This book, the first 10 pages are hella fun, and then the rest of the book kind of sucks. I wanted to keep it just for this cover because I love it, but that's dumb. I'm not doing that. I don't have room for books that I hate, so this is going. Girl Parts by John M. Cusack. I believe this has something to do with a girl robot that the guy dates, but he gets zapped every time he tries to get frisky with it, which that's fun, that's cute, but I don't know, it's just not something I feel myself being pulled towards, so I'm gonna get rid of it. The Predicteds by Christine Seifert. I believe that this has something to do with having your whole life predicted for you, kind of. You take an aptitude test, sort of, in high school, and then, your whole personality gets figured out by this test or something, and they're on the back it says something about, will the head cheerleader get pregnant? Is the student council president a secret drug addict? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure this is another series, which, once again, I'm just not that pulled towards high school set series anymore because I know I'm not going to finish them. And then like I looked this up on Goodreads and it didn't have the best reviews, so why bother? Hold Still by Nina LaCour. This is actually seeming to it got like a rebrand and a recover art thing, and it seems to be going around again. I believe this is about a girl whose best friend commits suicide. Yeah. And normally that would be really up my alley, but I honestly kind of have a lot of books very similar to this, and once again, I needed to get rid of books, so this was one I added to the pile. Maybe this is one I will consider keeping if I read good reviews. I don't know, we'll see. It is pretty short. I feel like I could get through it pretty quickly, and I do love a dark contemporary. Amelia Ann is Dead and Gone by Kat Rosenfield. I feel like I solely bought this for the cover. I can tell because I love this cover. It's beautiful. I believe this is just about a girl who winds up dead in this town, and it's from this other girl's point of view, and I'm not really sure what they have to do with each other, but I'm assuming at some point something will intersect and all that, and normally I would like a book like this, but once again, I just have so many of these types of books, and this one didn't have as good of reviews as the other ones I currently have, so it's going. The Second Suspect by Heather Lewis. So I actually meant to buy a different Heather Lewis book, and I guess I wasn't paying attention, and I ended up buying this one. I believe a prostitute ends up dead, and the two suspects are a husband and wife, and the husband points it on his wife, and yeah, and like there's an interrogation and stuff. Once again, this sounds like a type of novel I would read, but I just have so many of this thriller, crime type of thing that I think when I was going through my books, I just kind of picked whichever ones I was really gravitating towards, and I also checked Goodreads and like saw reviews, and this one must have not had the best reviews, so. But yeah, I am still interested in checking out Heather Lewis's other novel, but I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Notice or something. I don't know. So Much Pretty by Kara Hoffman. I believe I got this possibly in a subscription or something, or no, maybe I bought it. I don't know. I definitely bought it on sale if I did buy it. This is another one that has to do with a dead body in a small town, and this reporter who comes in and tries to solve it, and like once again, I just have so many of these books. Like these are the type of books I gravitate towards, these are the type of shows I gravitate towards. They're very like Broadchurch, The Sinner, Top of the Lake, like that sort of thing. But I just have too many. The next book is 10 Things We Did and Probably Shouldn't Have by Sarah Milnowski. This is just a little too young for me. I'm not against reading YA books by any means, but like all the things that they're talking about, like the terrible 10 things they did, just don't seem that terrible now that I'm, you know, in my 20s and have done worse things than this. So it's just a little too tween for me right now. Next book is Crier's Cross by Lisa McMahon. I think when I bought this, I didn't realize it had some paranormal element, and I'm not really a paranormal girl, so. The Amazing Herbie by Dan Passman. I definitely got this one in a subscription box, and I'm not really into magic, or anything involving magicians. Like even like I've seen a couple magician movies, like Now You See Me, which was like one of the worst movies I've ever seen, even though I love pretty much everyone in that cast, to be honest, especially Jesse Eisenberg, but like, it was so bad. It was so bad. So I think that's weirdly tainted me towards all magician things, but yeah, magician, murder, I mean, usually you can see the plot twist coming, so it's just not my thing. Pretty Little Secrets, a Pretty Little Liars collection. I believe this is kind of like a standalone side story to the whole series, and I do want to finish the series just to say I finished it, but I don't need any but I do not need any side stories in this at all. So this is going. Deliciously Dangerous by Karen Anders. Yeah, now these are my true like first foray into smut when I was a kid, were these Blaze books. I used to buy the Harlequin romance books all the time, but the ones without the sex, it was just romance. But then I remember accidentally buying one of these Blaze books one day that actually have the smut, and I got so excited, and I think that was all I read from that point going forward in the Harlequin things. I haven't read this one. It looks like it's about a cowboy. It says something about being undercover lovers, so that's interesting. But, I mean, it's short, I could fly through it, but it's just not really my thing, and I've got a ton of smut on my combo. So why keep a physical copy of something I probably won't reach for? 12 by Nick McDonnell. I know this was turned into a movie. I think I heard the movie wasn't that great. This is something to do with like Upper East Siders and a drug dealer and just like partying and stuff, and like I'm just kind of over like the Gossip Girl-esque rich people doing bad things sort of story. It's just like not that interesting to me anymore. I've heard this book is really good. I tried to read it and I was enjoying what I read, but this was like a long ass time ago and it's just not really up my alley anymore. Glimmer by Phoebe Kitanis, I don't know. This is about two people who wake up and they have amnesia and they can't remember anything about their former selves, and they feel like the people who are telling them about themselves are lying. And they work together to like solve it. I feel like there's a lot of books out there that are very similar. This one just like, there's just something about it that I have no interest in it. So, and once again, I'm trying to get a little more away from YA because it's just not pulling my interest. Mr. Death's Blue-Eyed Girls by Mary Downing Hunt. This is about a guy who's spying on some girls and I guess he's going to kidnap them. The sounds of it kind of sounds like Lolita kind of mixed with like the Virgin Suicides, which is interesting, but I don't think it got the best reviews, so I was kind of just like, eh. I don't know. Now that I'm going through these, I'm like, I should keep some. Maybe I'll do a try chapter tag and this could be a contender. That would be fun. Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. This is about a girl who used to be like a perfect student and now she starts getting drunk and failing all of her classes, and there's some secret that she's holding, and I'm guessing the end of the book will tell why. And once again, this is kind of up my alley, but I don't know. I don't even know if I have reasons anymore for why I got rid of books. There's just certain things that like I know aren't at the top of my TBR list, and so I'm just never going to get around to them, so why keep them in my apartment? Break by Hannah Moskowitz. This is about a kid who keeps breaking all of his bones, or her bones, just to make themselves stronger. So it's very much self-harm, which, once again, I used to love dark contemporaries, but I do have a couple books with self-harm situations, and I just don't need any more. Violence 101 by Dennis Wright. This is about a boy who has a troubled past and he has an anger issue, and it's just kind of told from alternating perspectives about his life and like what it's like to be this angry, I guess. I have, once again, a couple books about teenage boys who are angry and like abusive and troubled. I don't know, this might be another try chapter 1 contender because it does sound interesting. I just can't picture myself getting to it. A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. I tried to read this quite a while ago. As we all know, most stuff in this book is bullshit, and he just like completely made it up. I think I tried to read it in high school, but I think when I found out like it was all bullshit, I kind of just like lost interest, and I picked it up at a secondhand store, but I think that's where it's going back to because I'm not a huge memoir person anyway, and if I am going to listen to a memoir, I'd rather do it in an audiobook anyway. Bad Wolf by Neil Niehaus. So I found out that this is actually from a series. I got this in a book box, a book subscription box, and I didn't realize that this is from a series, and it's not the first book, so I'm not going to bother keeping it because I'm not going to read a random number from a series. Get Well Soon by Julie Halpern. This is about a girl who ends up like in a mental health institution, and I have a lot of books like that. This isn't one that interests me, and I also think there's another book in this series, and once again, I just don't want to read more YA series. So this is getting passed along as well. And then I have a couple movies I'm also getting rid of. A Walk to Remember, because I'm not a huge Nicholas Sparks fan. I did like this back in the day, but I recently rewatched it and I was like, oh boy, it's pretty Christian, and that's just not really my jam. The People vs. Larry Flint. I love Edward Norton. He is my favorite actor in the entire world, and so I went on this weird buying binge where I just wanted to buy all of his movies, but there are certain movies that I just don't enjoy of his. He's a great actor in everything, because that's just like how he is, but this movie is hella long and not that fun. The Incredible Hulk. Oh look, another Edward Norton movie that, like, I'm just not gonna watch again. Repo, the genetic opera. I loved this when I first saw it in high school. I remember thinking just how impressive it was to sing an entire movie. But I recently watched this with my boyfriend and I was like, yeah, this is much less impressive than I remember it being, because they're not songs, they're just singing words. And 50-50. I also went on a buy and binge involving Joseph Gordon-Levitt because he's another favorite one of my actors, but I saw this in theater and I just didn't love it. It didn't make me laugh, but it didn't really hit me in the feels either, so it just didn't do it for me. I realized I didn't explain what most of that stuff was about, but, you know, it is what it is. And that's all the crap I'm getting rid of. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will make more, and yeah, bye.